Talking about, you know, kicking up dust from old drama, Mountain Dew decided to finally today release a Google Doc on his time at VShojo. Not sure why he waited that long to do this, but here we are. Didn't break 1K like, locked off comments, has less than 400 retweets. Not looking too hot. I mean, I've skimmed this and he just never addresses the allegations of, you know, being creepy to talents, of starting rumors about talents. He doesn't talk about any of that. He like sidesteps all of these allegations, which was pretty frustrating. You know, no talk about being creepy whatsoever. He just talks about the fact that he doesn't know where the money went and claims he's innocent. But I feel like there is stuff that we can learn from his words if we read between the lines good enough, or if we pay attention to some details that he drops. He says, "Hey all, before we get started, I want to take the chance to thank all of my friends, former talent, former staff, and other streamers / industry that I've been in communication with who know myself and my role within the company. You have all been wonderful through this tough time. I also want to thank the many people within the community who have been supportive throughout this time and have stood with me while this gets sorted. I've spent the following month gathering countless documents and what I had access to in order to have clear, concise records of my involvement with the company, and have provided a small fraction below. Transparency and misrepresentation. There was once a time where I was extremely proud about what I helped initially build. There was a lot of hard work and planning involved, and I took a lot of pride in my role in launching the company, but I now simply feel misled, disappointed, and betrayed by those involved. The fact that this had happened at all is troubling to say the least, and I feel deeply for those who were affected by this. If anyone affected needs testimony, evidence, or other material assistance with actions against VShojo, I'm more than willing to do what I can to assist." So he's like turning against VShojo. He's kind of like wiping his hands clean from this and trying to be like, yo, I'm on your side, but I don't think anybody wants his side. I may have documentations or records relevant to the case, and I'm happy to see what I have. Is he doing this to escape like legal liabilities? Also considered taking my own shareholder action against the company, which I won't rule out at this time. I also have to consider action against those who have engaged in defamation against my character. Is this like a thinly veiled threat against Neanners and Silvervale and Aethelstan? Although I am hopeful that we can resolve those matters privately and amicably. Buddy, I don't think you have the leverage you think you do. Okay, now in big, bold red letters, he says, "That being said, I was never made aware that talent funds were intermingled with the company's operating expenses. Any budget that was used for marketing was a direct result of asking for that amount and either being approved or denied. I had extremely limited financial access, only for small marketing approvals, never broader accounts or operations. I have evidence of this from third parties that I have worked with for marketing media while at the company. I have never had access to bank accounts, nor was made aware in meetings about the way finances were being used. What I had been made aware of is that the company was running out of money and needed another round of investment to continue operation. As far as my understanding, the only individuals who had access to company bank accounts were the CEO, the COO, and the finance department. Had I become aware of financial misuse, I would have exited the company immediately and begun to speak with legal counsel and to talent about the misuse of their funds." So this is his play. He's just gonna say he didn't know. My role and authority. There are a lot of misconceptions about my role at the company. Some people have stated that I was the CEO or COO, which is false. The two titles at the company that I was assigned were CTO, Chief Technology Officer, and later CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. The change in position was due to an internal company pivot in which the directors of the company assigned the role of CTO to another staff member and subsequently assigned myself to CMO. I was assigned these titles, but I recently discovered it's not entirely clear if these titles were legally or formally recognized. In terms of seniority, I was not on the board of directors, despite assisting in launching the company. I would also like to note at this time that the entire company was remote and no in-person office was ever in use. That's interesting because if I remember properly, when Legal Mindset broke down the whole Nijisanji situation last year, he said that California labor laws required you to have an in-person office in California. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought that was one of the points. Upon recent investigations on registered documents from the company that have been unearthed, I do not know now if I was ever legally considered CMO or any officer title. It was just a title that I was given internally, which is not something that I was aware of nor would have found acceptable. So the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, is listed here as Justin Ignacio, and then the Chief Financial Officer is Daniel Sanders. And this is a copy of the Statement of Information Corporation for VShojo, only listing the CEO and COO as officers. So he's showing this as proof to showcase that he is not listed legally as an officer. I feel like this is all just so he can distance himself from any, liability as an officer within the company. Initially, when launching the company, I blindly put my trust into these people that they were doing everything correct in terms of structure and finance. In hindsight, that trust was misplaced. Below, I have also attached a series of screenshots of documents from failed merger in 2024 that only list the CEO and the COO as officers and members of the board. It does not include any mention of myself within the company structure. And here people are hard ratting about which company was VShojo supposed to merge with. Whereas the material facts as to the director's relationship or interest as to the merger and other transactions authorized and approved in the preceding resolution have been previously disclosed to the board and to the stockholders and are known to the board and stockholders, including without limitation the following. 1. Daniel Sanders is the Chief Operating Officer and Secretary of the company and a member of the board and a stockholder of the company who may receive proceeds or other consideration as a result of the merger in accordance. Yada yada yada. Justin Ignacio is the Chief Executive Officer and President of the company, and holders of company common stock and preferred stock are currently anticipated to receive stock consideration as set forth in the merger agreement. So only the COO and CEO are receiving an offer letter from the buyer and listed as the members of the board. Here he adds another piece of proof saying, again, only the CEO and CEO had authority to sign the document. For purpose of the golden parachute provisions, the estimated aggregate amount of payments the disqualified individual could receive in connection with the merger, the amount of payments the disqualified individuals will be entitled to receive or retain, even if stockholder approval is not obtained, and the estimated amount subject to the stockholder vote and waive if stockholder approval is not obtained are set forth in the table below. Is that a $2 million? Jesus Christ. To each guy? What is a parachute? What's a golden parachute provision? Oh, parachutes are for high ranking in the company if they are fired. Executive severance, quite common because they can tank the company value by trashing the company on the way out. Oh, okay. So only these two officers would have received golden parachutes. Confidential, interests of officers and directors of the company, interests of company's director and executive officers. Okay, this is all just to prove that he is not listed as any directors in any of these mergers documents, but I'm wondering about other documents. Interested party transaction, whereas each of the undersigned stockholders are aware that each of Justin Ignacio and Daniel Sanders, directors of the company, collectively the directors, will individually receive closing stocks consideration in a merger with respect to shares of company common stock held by each director, and Mr. Sanders and Mr. Ignacio have each received an offer letter from the buyer pursuant to which he will be eligible for additional compensation in such capacity. Document listing the CEO and CEO as the sole directors again. And he says, I have also attached in its entirety a copy of the board consent form from the initial VShojo stock adoption plan, which can be found here. This is VShojo Inc. Action by unanimous written consent of the board of directors. Wait, so what is he trying to showcase here? The document which I have obtained is dated February 27, 2021 and must be signed by all members of the board to proceed. It has signatures from the CEO and COO respectively. Oh yeah, it does. And it doesn't have any other signatures. From the start, I felt as if I was always unfairly sidelined in terms of role and influence within the company. Any criticism I had always felt as if they fell on deaf ears, and as time went on, the staff expanded and I felt more and more sidelined within the company. Well, maybe they figured out that you weren't doing your job right. My role in the company more or less begun to feel like an employee that just did marketing and a few other tasks when needed, as opposed to someone who assisted in getting everything off the ground. I feel as if there was not a lot of honesty and transparency about certain happenings within the company, and I now believe that some things I was told were not truth. Things such as information about talent's behaviors and the reason for talent departure was information that was presented to me by the founders. Okay, so this is his way of like indirectly addressing the claims that he started 4chan rumors about the departing talents. Okay, but even if the information he received was wrong from the quote-unquote founders, as he says, because that's the excuse he's going for. He's saying like, oh, well, other people lied to me about the talents. Why would he go on 4chan to start rumors? Like, that's messed up. This directly influenced my beliefs and feelings about the talent, and I now believe, based on new findings, that the information presented to me was untrue. Again, even if it was untrue, if your first reaction is to go and tell everybody about it, that's not very professional at all. Especially from the guy that's in charge of like marketing. There were many projects and pivots that I learned about only after they were in motion or were approved by the board. Things such as pivot to social media style website service at one point and a full company merger, both of which I strongly opposed, are amongst a few examples where I would be notified subsequently to the work beginning. There were times where I was asked to sign documents without adequate time to get them reviewed by an attorney and told that it could potentially lead to my removal from the company. I was told that it was needed for the success of the company with minimal and insufficient details, an example being the aforementioned merger above. In the final years of the company, I did not directly speak with the CEO one-on-one in any capacity. Only the COO weekly. This was likely due to the fact that I would be extremely critical about decisions made in the company and the lack thereof scaling in ways that I believe made sense. The CEO had a habit of putting other staff in front of him when faced with adversity. An example of such was that they would often put other staff in front of talent for communication whenever possible, especially in the final months of the company when significant criticism arose. Yeah, Zentraya also said that she had a lot of trouble being able to, have a talk one-on-one with him, even though she begged him to. Dismissal and aftermath. On May 1st, 2025, I was called into a sudden meeting with members of the board where I was informed that my alleged position of CMO was being removed from the company along with 4 other employee positions, one of which being the financial manager, as a cost-cutting measure. During this meeting, it was also conveyed to me that the COO would be stepping down for unknown reasons. It was agreed upon that the statement I would make publicly would be written in a way to make the departure look more favorable for the company and myself so as to not to raise any alarm bells about the health of the company or create speculation. Oh, so he made it seem like it was a mutual, like he was stepping down, but really they just axed his job. Given my growing distress with the board up to this point due to the talent departures, I have recorded notes and transcripts from these meetings that I have retained for my records. From about May 15, 2025, all of my access to my company email address I had was revoked and I departed every server, Slack, and company-related software to move on to begin working on a personal endeavor. I assumed that the company would just simply run out of money in a few months, would post a statement about closure, and I would be grateful that it was a good run. From this point, I began planning and working on my own non-VTuber project to launch in late July to early August and have it hopefully launch before the company would assumably go under or be sold. On July 2nd, 2025, I did a check-in with the CEO to see if anything that would be happening in the company that could conflict with the launch of my project. Hey brother, I have a little bit of a request from you. I have a pretty large forward-facing thing I'm working on this month that is slated for late July/early August. Something big did happen with the company around July, August. Can you keep me up to date on anything large scale that might be happening at VShojo around that time, whether good or bad, company dissolution, new members joining, members leaving, company sale, etc. I need to have all of that on my radar in case I need to move times and things around. Hope you've been well. Oh, okay, so this is the real reason why he's making this document. He's upset about that. So I'm guessing his project announcement got delayed. I was told to check in after Anime Expo, in which I did. and I was redirected to a new staff member that was allegedly hired after my release. I have censored their name as they were a new hire. In typical fashion, someone was to put between myself and the CEO for communication and would not clearly tell me what was potentially going on. This is the final time I have had any contact with the CEO. Hey MTD, connecting you with Du. He's been taking over for more of VShojo leadership things and can keep you better up to speed. Hey there, so doing a check-in if there's going to be any upcoming negative news or the like over the next 30 or so days so I can prepare in advance as I look to launch a new public-facing project in that window. Du responds, I'd say the answer is probably yes. Oh, so they knew. One way or another there's going to be some negative stuff publicly, I can't say what. On July 21st, 2025, a statement went about the company not paying out charity money that was owed to the IDF. The following message exchange can be seen shortly after. Well, Mouse just posted a thing without any advance notice, so heads up. Well aware from the large amounts of DMs and text I'm getting. Sad day. Can I get some context here as this is the first time I'm hearing about any of this? Okay, that's why he posted this conversation because he wanted us to see this line. VShojo owes a lot of money to talents. I don't know when you were involved with the company, but it's been an ongoing / known issue for a year, ? And the charity payment is related. Actually, it's been an ongoing issue since 2021, but seems like people didn't notice till later. You probably have more context than me, I suspect, but also I'm not sure what your relationship was with the company and when. VShojo ran out of money some time ago and has been operating with what was supposed to be talent money, hence causing the current situation. Onto the response, I was never made aware of this being an issue from both CEO and COO. I was aware that there was a financial issue, but not outstanding payment, especially for charity. He like gets bothered by this comment where he says you probably have more context than me, I suspect, but I'm also not sure what your relationship was with the company. And he says, excuse me. And then Du responds, like I said, I don't know what your relationship is or was or what your role was, but these issues have been ongoing for most of the past year as far as I know, since sometime 2024. You'll have to ask Justin. I've been here 3.5 weeks, so I'm just learning and navigating through this as best as I can. This exchange showed when I first became aware of the issue of unpaid charity funds as well as what funds the company was operating on. This was infuriating to me as it revealed financial misuse that had been hidden from me during my tenure at the company and was revealed after the fact. I have many opinions about the way the company was run over the years, as well as the decisions that were made by the board. I feel that one day I will share my opinion on the decisions that I believe caused the company to collapse financially, the things I would have changed structurally as the company was run, and some of what I feel was the sheer incompetence of the board. Evidence he retained, but didn't really show. Meeting transcripts and notes, corporate filings that show only the CEO and CEO as board members. Okay, he showed that. Various contracts, a statement of information listing only the CEO and CEO with no mention of myself as an officer. This material confirms that I was not registered director of the company and likely not an officer despite the titles I was given internally. So he never exercised like any of these perks? I also have former staff and former talent that can corroborate the things that I have made clear in the statement, as well as multitude of other individuals who can confirm these statements. Closing, once again, I would like to emphasize that my role in the company was not as broad as some have suggested. I was never given access to finances, nor was I ever part of a board-level decisions. My responsibility was limited to technology and marketing under the approval of the board. I was made aware that the company needed investments, but not that talent funds were being involved in operation. Yeah, but I feel like people are not mad at him because of the money. They assumed he probably knew what was going on, but mostly they were mad at him because of other allegations, like the fact that he was a creep, that he was a sex pest, that he started rumors on other talents, basically like bullying and harassment. I'm so grateful for the large amount of support from friends, talent staff, and community members during this time. I will continue to stand with those who were most impacted and assist however I can. I'm still really excited for the things that I plan coming, and I hope to show you all soon. So it's been community noted, and Vebe and Nianners both are in there. MTD got reprimanded for being creepy to us, got told not to message us privately, go figure. I have proof from other streamers attending their IRL parties that MTD would actively shit-talk me after I left the company to paint me in the worst light imaginable. Don't know why you're acting innocent on Twitter, pretending you weren't aware of anything. Can't wait to see all this shit that comes out about you because there's loads, but these aren't my story to tell. Yeah, we saw the stuff Neon and Atel were saying about him on the day of. And this is also another tweet by Nianners. MTD had the audacity to talk shit about you to my face at a party the year that we all left and painted you as some kind of conniving, greedy mean girl who was in my ear and manipulated me into leaving VShojo just because you wanted me to join OTK because her boyfriend Soda is part of that org or for personal gain or some shit. He got uncomfortably close, up in my face, was like, come on, I know the real reason you left. I know it was because of Vey. She talked you into it. And it was infuriating. I know he spread that same shit to other staff talent and other industry people. Seeing one of my closest friends get dragged through the mud like this for years was awful. You did absolutely nothing and had so much shit flung at you just because they wanted to push a narrative to protect the company. For him to act like he's completely blameless is insulting. He is a creepy motherfucker. And there's a lot more, obviously, but a lot of it is also not my story to tell. And then we also have, you know, Atel's reaction to Mountain Dew.
God, here we go! The cat is out of the fucking bag! MTD got reprimanded for being creepy to us. LOL. Got told not to message us privately. Go figure. This motherfucker, dude, has the audacity. Gunrun, what the fuck, dude? Oh, so you didn't know about any of this when you fucking said all that shit you said to Nyan, you fucking loser ass bitch? Oh, no, Mouse, no, you're not. No, please.
I like when he says, you fucking loser ass bitch.
You're not an idiot, man. This is literal fucking, like, twisted abuse, dude. Nyan replied to this post. Oh my god. Okay, all right, let me read the rest of this. I have proof from other streamers attending their IRL parties that Mountain Dew would actively shit talk me after I left the company. Yep, I saw that firsthand. To paint me in the worst light imaginable. Don't know why you're acting innocent on Twitter, pretending you weren't aware of anything. Can't wait to see all the shit that comes out about you because there's loads, but those aren't my stories to tell. Thanks for reading and thanks to those who stuck around between then and now. No, I'll say it. He does the thing that's really creepy to me when you tell someone you don't want to drink and they are physically forcing you to do so. That is one of my biggest fucking pet peeves ever, okay? I get to a certain point, I don't like to drink. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it, especially when it's fucking straight up tequila shots. And I sure as fuck don't like being forced by anyone to do it. Because I've had that happen to me in my own personal life too. And it's one of the worst, most powerless feelings you'll ever feel. It is just fucking awful. And this motherfucker, it just would not stop. It was one of the creepiest interactions with someone that I've met in this space ever. And that's like that is the least worst thing that he did that night. Who's this MTD guy? It's Mountain Dew. He was whatever the fucking VShojo. I don't even know what it is. I think he's just fucking 4chan poster. I think that was his title. 4chan AstroTurf.
His title was 4chan AstroTurfer. That's funny. So now, you know, Parrot a QRT Dispose saying, writing 4chan rats about your talent suits you better than writing the Google Doc. Innis, dude, I love Innis. She also says, there's no way this dude knew nothing, lol. That made me laugh. Expert Armchair who's made a post about it and who hasn't spaced his bullet points. But thankfully, I will read this one for you guys. I got you, don't worry. So he believes it's like somewhat connected to the V-Stream stuff, I think. So he says, points of interest. Confirms that VShojo was in the middle of pursuing a merger in 2024 that would have granted both Gunrun and Daniel Sanders a golden parachute totaling over $2 million each. However, MTD does not specify what company VShojo would be merging with. This may corroborate rumors floating around earlier this year that Brave and VShojo were previously in talk. Kind of like what Chat said earlier. States that VShojo was entirely remote with no in-person office ever in use. Yeah, we also found that weird. States that his role were only listed as CTO and later CMO when the company appointed another staff member to the position of CTO. This staff member was presumably Fujiman, though he left sometime prior to the closure of VStream in March of 2024. So Fujiman was a dev for VStream, and he was let go after the project was shut down. MTD states that he could not have any knowledge of financial misuse because of the limitations of his roles. He states that he was only aware that the company was running out of money, though he does not specify at what point he became aware of this. Fujiman's tweets responding to Gunrun's statement on the 25th of July, which stated that while he was there, the company finances were such a mess that I could almost believe him, Gunrun, when he forgot what the 500k was intended for. That's a crazy sentence. That's crazy. This would seem to indicate that members of C-suite besides the CEO and COO would have had cause to believe that the company had money troubles prior to March of 2024. I think they knew that the company had money troubles way before that. He sidesteps entirely the allegations leveled by ex-talents that he engaged in slander and backchat. Oh, that's the first time I see this word being used. Backchat. That's a good word. It's like talking behind the scenes, I guess. Slander and backchat against them after their departure from the company also does not touch on the claims of being reprimanded for making talents uncomfortable in DMs or alleged conduct during the VShojo parties. Closest thing the document does to addressing either of these points is a sentence at the start where he states, I also have to consider action against those that have engaged in defamation against my character. And later on, when MTD states that things such as information about talent's behaviors and the reason for talent departure was information that was presented to me by the founders, this directly influenced my beliefs and feelings about the talent, and I now believe based on new findings that the information presented to me wasn't true. Okay, we noted the same parts here. Nice, we're on the same wavelength. Questions that remain. Who was the other party in the merger I fell through in 2024? I'm also curious about it. Who brought Daniel Sanders into the fold and what kept him there? This is especially pertinent given his dubious qualifications for his position. His own startup failed in 2020 and his law license expired in 2021, in spite of ex-talents alleging that he was acting as VShojo's in-house lawyer even past that point. And even more so considering he was apparently one of only 2 board members, the other being Gunrun, with a financial stake in the company. So Daniel Sanders would be the COO and also allegedly the one who had a relationship with Project Melody, right? If VShojo had no in-person offices, where did they film the skits that they did for Michi's pre-debut videos? Oh, I don't recall those. Did they rent out? Oh yeah. Yeah, you know what? I do recall those. They were like in-office mayhem and stuff. Was it this? Like these office lockdown stuff? So this was all fake? That was all actors?
Thanks for moving your whole setup. I just gotta keep my eye on everybody.
Yeah, man, this was supposed to be a one-day shoot, so...
You got jokes. Oh.
This is what they spend their money on. Pretending they had an office and like employees that worked there. Yeah, the location must have been rented. At least they reused some actual employees. Okay, anyway, we don't need to watch the whole thing, but there's like 4 videos like that or 3. What exactly did the founders tell MTD about the departing talents, and what did MTD do with that information / how did he act on it? Well, according to the talents, he went on 4chan. Are there receipts of this backchat taking place, and if so, why hasn't MTD shared them? How many people within the company were aware of the fact that VShojo had financial troubles, albeit not necessarily financial misuse, prior to opening auditions in July of 2024? Tori Oriane, that was one of the girls that were supposed to debut in the next VShojo gen, yeah. Tori Oriane said that she was left completely unaware of this until she chanced upon the information while attending Offkai in June 2025. Yeah, she did say that. That's crazy. For almost like a year, for months, she's been putting her own time and her own money and not even able to stream on an alt, only to go to Offkai, and that's when she found out there through, you know, rumors through the grapevines that VShojo was in financial trouble and that the next gen might never debut. The entire time she was kept in the dark about it, thinking that, oh, I'm gonna have my big break soon, I'm gonna debut with this like killer agency. Isn't that wild? Fujiman stated that he and presumably other executives had knowledge of this, at least by March of 2024. It is no exaggeration to say that a great deal of those who auditioned for the company and who put their careers on hold in the hopes of debuting under it likely would have chosen differently had they been privy to this information. Yo, absolutely, absolutely, and well said here, Armchair. Overall, the document admittedly comes off more like a spurned executive complaining about that he was left out of the room while the big boys tried on their— True, it did come off at that. Rather than a genuine attempt at informing the public, MTD does, however, allude to possessing more useful information, though it remains to be seen if this will ever actually be shared. I like that Kenny took a hit for everybody. It says, good digest, but could you space the bullet points in the future? Reading this is a nightmare. Well-written post. I actually really enjoyed this. But yeah, he seemed more upset to the fact that he was like gradually pushed out of the company. Oh, woe me. Bro, you got paid when you left. Unlike everybody, and like all the talents. Oh yeah, but there's more. He, MTD apparently deleted some tweets. He deleted this tweet, Lamau. Now, bro, what the absolute fuck at the gun run? This user was also included in many of VShojo. I like that the readers added context. This user was also included in many of VShojo's mismanagement issues and has been called out for harassing talents. And he also tweeted, how long before he deletes this tweet? Let's talk about... oh, okay, the Google Doc. That's a good one. I like this. I don't think he's gonna delete that one, though. Well, we've already made copies, so it's not even worth it at this point.